Coming up on this edition of the Cowboys Reports by Chat Sports, we got Cowboys trade rumors, Deebo Samuel and Micah Parsons, plus a bunch of Cowboys coaching staff news, multiple coaches hired. Before we get into that, we have passed the 2,800 subscriber mark. Thank you all so much. 208,500,000 is the next metric. Hit that sub button if you haven't already for more free Cowboys videos. Let's begin with Deebo Samuel talk here. The Niners have granted Samuel permission to seek a trade, which he apparently requested before the season began, or I should say after the season ended, the exact before the offseason began. I'm not overly surprised Deebo wants out. He publicly was unhappy this past year in San Francisco, and also a bad sign when you're publicly unhappy and you're dropping passes a lot. That's normally not a very good combination. And Deebo's production has declined. He was a 1,000-yard awesome playmaker in 2021. Wasn't as good in 2022. A little bit better in 2023. Not very good in 2024. This is at his age, his play style, you've got concerns of a declining player. Most importantly is the contract stuff. And this is kind of complicated with the Niners have done this deal, so we'll stay on this for a little bit. Right now for San Francisco, he has a $15.83 million cap hit. Now, he has a upcoming $15.43 option bonus that is due at the end of March 22nd. That will not all count on the salary cap in 1 year. It can be spaced out and would be spaced out over several years. So it's only a couple $1 million in terms of what would actually count on the cap. But the current dead money for Deebo, because they've restructured contracts, is almost $33 million. The Niners, if they trade away Deebo, would lose $15.2 million. It would bring the dead cap hit to $31 million, but there's still going to be that lingering $33 million if they keep him. So they're eating, about $31 million in 2025. They'd be saving about $33 in 2026, while also saving about $17.5 million in actual cash if they post-June 1st Deebo or traded him. It's the same figure in the end. If the Cowboys trade for Deebo, that's what they would owe. $17.5-ish million in base salary, the option bonus, a workout bonus, and per-game roster bonuses as well. That's a lot of money for that's been banged up and is coming off of another bad season. So would you trade for Deebo Samuel? It's the pinned comment on today's show. Why for yes and for no, let me know in the comments of today's video. Given the amount of money that Deebo Samuel was owed, I would not rule out a possibility of him being cut. I think that's a big reason why the Niners said, yes, you know what, go search for a trade. Because if they can find a team willing to take on that money, they'd be more inclined to do it because it gets them a draft pick when they're going to eat the money no matter what. $17 million for the guy we saw last year, that's not good value. And at his age, his play style, and at times his attitude and focus, it seems like that's a dangerous potential trade for me. Now, the idea of Deebo Samuel, the best version of him, is one I've always wanted on this team. I also question if this coaching staff is good enough to use him properly. I don't know if that's the reality this Cowboys team is facing. And I feel bad doing this, but it's football. Why is Deebo built like me? Why? Why is that there, that little nice little bagginess? There ain't supposed to be that there. Like, you're an NFL player. Why are you built like me? And there were even comments mid-season like, hey, is Deebo a little bit heavy? It looks like that's the case. I also hate the fact that he's wearing an Eagles jersey. That's not a good sign for me. Look, prime Deebo, hell yeah, I'm in. I have no complaints about that. I am very concerned he is not that guy anymore. I'm not going to go so far yet as to say he is washed. But we are on cooked watch. And that's not a fun spot to be. Because we've been through it many times with players in recent years where I'm like, this guy might not be the same guy anymore. Sometimes they are. A lot of times they aren't. Today's show is made possible by Zbiotics. They are the maker of the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Remember to drink it before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Sometimes when those game day super chats come in, I don't feel so good the next day. At least I didn't before we got hooked up with Zbiotics. They're a real game changer. Stay in the loop and go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. You can also scan the QR code on screen today to get 15% off your first order when you use code CHATSPORTS. And you can get a subscription so that you can stay prepared at the time or the occasion. Zbiotics backed by 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/chatsports and use code CHATSPORTS at checkout, 15% off your order. Thank you to Zbiotics for sponsoring today's show and our good times. I want to re-hit the Micah Parsons stuff with some updated reporting that's gone on. NFL Network reports the Cowboys, as we mentioned on Sunday's show, have had some internal discussions about trading Micah. And my big question is this. Was this a leak by the Dallas Cowboys? Is this them doing their normal contract time BS? Or is this NFL Network trying to get some clicks and views and generate Cowboys hype on a game day as they've often done before? Or is it a bit of both? Would either be a surprise? We've seen both of them. Like the Cowboys, as we get to from CeeDee Lamb's perspective, always do this nonsense at contract time. It's never simple. It's never easy. Like CeeDee Lamb quote tweeted one of the aggregates on this saying, "Y'all aren't tired of this? Every offseason top of the charts. Let's just win ball games, and that's with 11. SMH. I agree with CD. I am tired, like I think so many of you are, of dealing with extra nonsense around this franchise that makes it harder to win games. Your job as an organization is to make it easier, not harder, and the Cowboys make it harder every single year. NFL Network, ESPN, though, they love those Cowboys game day stories. They love doing it. Do it all the time. Normally it's an outdated story, but it's fresh. And the Cowboys, in the end, love the attention. We were all talking about the Cowboys again on the Super Bowl day, weren't we? We were all doing it. It would be nice, one time, to have a quiet, top-of-the-market contract extension. Micah's your chance. Just get it done. Now, Clarence Hill said to stop the drama, said Micah is not getting traded. And I do think that is the far more likely outcome. I would just like to have this wrapped up before free agency and not to deal with nonsense around, August and September and missing out on cap space there. So what would you do with Micah Parsons? Would you trade him? Type in T. Or would you keep him? Type in K. Wrap up here with some coaching staff updates here. Connor Riley is the new offensive line coach. This one breaking over the weekend. He was the Kansas State co-OC most recently and was the O-line coach at the same time. He was also the play caller. I don't think Kansas State fans were so broken about him leaving as the OC. He was a very good offensive lines coach. Was also at North Dakota State for a long time with the current Kansas State head coach. Also, small world, replaced Clayton Adams at Sac State as the O-line coach. They weren't on the same staff together, but there was that connection there. Junior Adams is the new wide receivers coach coming over from Oregon as the Cowboys continue to dip into the collegiate ranks. He was the Oregon co-OC, non-play caller, the wide receivers coach, then was at Washington for several years, Western Kentucky, Boise State with this guy named Cedric Wilson, and also Cooper Kupp at Eastern Washington, which we will come back to in a little bit. That is a connection there that's worth going more in depth on. Carlos Polk, not a huge surprise here. We kind of expected this to be the case, predicted it. The assistant special teams coach was under Matt Eberflus in Chicago, was with Nick Sorensen in Jacksonville, was with Brian Schottenheimer in Jacksonville, was a brief kind of overlap to an extent with Schottenheimer and the crew in San Diego, former Cowboys assistant coach. So this one made a lot of sense. Dallas not done. They are also working to hire former Bills and Browns OC Ken Dorsey. Nothing firm on the role. It sounds like analyst is going to be the expectation here. So probably some advanced scouting stuff, probably trying to stay ahead of the curve on schematics to the extent that the Cowboys haven't done a good job with there. Curious how much impact he'll actually have. This could also be Dorsey kind of taking that almost gap year and then trying to be an OC or a quarterback's coach somewhere else again next offseason. Matt Zenitz, meanwhile, this is a CBS Sports reporter. The Cowboys set to hire UTEP defensive coordinator J.J. Clark as a defensive assistant. Now, your main coaching roles are all kind of filled up right now. And Clark has done linebacker stuff before. So I don't know what his role is going to be. I am kind of intrigued by this one because this is you're hiring a G5 DC to come be a probably lower level defensive assistant. But I think to an extent, college coaches get paid more because they have no free time. They get like a week or two off sometimes. It's just nonstop go, go, go. I think that's why you're seeing so many college coaches have interest in jumping for downgrades in pay and titles to the NFL. So what is your one-word reaction to the coaching staff the Cowboys have put together so far? We'll eventually do a full grades on it once I think that quarterback's coach role gets finalized. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Let's go to Junior Adams. There is a very real Cooper Kupp connection here with, of course, Kupp on his way out of LA at some point in the near future. He was his coach at Eastern Washington, and Kupp is a big fan of Adams. This is what Cooper Kupp once said. I have had a lot of coaches throughout my career as a football player. None have had a greater impact on me than Coach Adams. His ability to coach the wide receiver position is unmatched to his knowledge of the game as a whole, as well as his ability to maximize the potential of every one of his players physically and mentally. He's the best there is. Now, Kupp, I think there's a chance he gets cut. The Rams willing to eat some more of the money, I think, makes it not as likely. But there is that connection. And, if Kupp gets to choose his destination, whether it's a release or a trade, that could help the Cowboys in that angle, knowing he wants to compete. Now, Kupp's contract is the big issue here. He's got a $12.5 million base salary. It's a decent amount of money. A $7.5 million roster bonus, 5 of which is guaranteed. How much of this number do the Rams eat? That would impact, I think, the Cowboys' level of interest.